In 2018, LEGO released 70 Star Wars sets, the most they have ever released in a year to date, with 2016 and 2017 being right behind it with 66 Star Wars sets. Now, LEGO released 70 sets this year, although only a handful of them are really notable or even memorable at all. And there's really two main reasons for this. In January of 2018, LEGO decided to open up the year with releasing 15 Star Wars sets, with 8 of those Star Wars sets being sequel sets, and 4 of those sequel sets being microfighters. And with The Last Jedi being released just a little less than a month earlier in December of 2017, this almost automatically set up the sequel sets that were planned to be released in 2018 for failure, because as we all know, that is widely considered to be the worst Star Wars movie in the franchise. Now, just because The Last Jedi's failure automatically put the sequel sets that were going to be released this year under a very strict magnifying glass from LEGO Star Wars fans doesn't really mean that the sets didn't have a small potential to be actually good, although it seemed that LEGO made some pretty strange decisions with these sets, or they just really didn't try on them. Obviously, we have the infamous Headless First Order ATST, and then we have the First Order Specialist Battle Pack that really includes a bunch of figures that don't really belong in a battle pack. In my opinion, I think they should have put the 2 Executioner Troopers in the First Order ATST and replaced Captain Phasma and BB-8. The Octu Island Training set and the Defensive on Crate set were also released, with the Octu Island Training in my opinion being a pretty forgettable set. Yeah, you get the exclusive Old Age Luke Skywalker minifigure, although the rest of the set really doesn't have many things to offer, as you just get a Rey minifigure and a pretty simple hut build. The Defense on Crate, however, was definitely a lot better than the other sequel sets that were released in this wave, as LEGO actually did a really great job with the Sea Speeder itself, although for some reason they decided to throw in a lot of side builds, and due to that the price got bumped up a lot for not really a good reason, and now fans that wanted just the Ski Speeder were now forced to be set back $85, when in reality they could have just released the Ski Speeder itself with less minifigures and made a pretty good set. At the time, a Ski Speeder was a little bit hyped up, although there wasn't enough, as the $85 price point along with it being a sequel set just led to a lot of people overlooking it. Now, the few sets that weren't sequel sets that were released in this wave have since become, well, some of the worst and most hated LEGO Star Wars sets made to date, being the Tatooine Battle Pack, General Grievous's Combat Speeder, and the Mos Eisley Cantina. Now, out of these 3 sets, I don't think the Mos Eisley Cantina is as bad as people make it out to be. It's not near as good as the 2014 version, although I think it has pretty good minifigures, and I love the inclusion of the Ubrikian Speeder, although this set was nowhere near enough to make up for the disaster that this opening wave was. We really got 2 of what are widely considered to be the 2 worst LEGO Star Wars sets ever made, along with some other sets that are debatably in the top 10, all in the same wave. And these sets, along with the handicap handed to LEGO from The Last Jedi, really made 2018 have a pretty rough start. Now, springtime had rolled around and Solo: A Star Wars Story was set to release in May, so LEGO gave us 5 sets from the movie on April 20th, and they were actually really good sets. We got an updated TIE Fighter model with great minifigures and now widely considered to be the best TIE Fighter LEGO has made, a very unique version of the Millennium Falcon with a great looking colorway, a pretty solid battle pack, and some pretty cool looking speeder sets. Although LEGO also threw in 2 other sets, which was Yoda's Hut and the Clone Trooper and Jedi Battle Pack, which seemed kind of out of place and sort of as filler sets that really weren't filling anything. It was nice to get an upgraded model of Yoda's Hut, as we hadn't got one since 2004, although this definitely was not the time to release it, and they didn't really execute the build as good as they could have. It kind of seemed a little rushed and a little underwhelming, although it did have pretty good minifigures. And then we got the Clone Trooper and Jedi Battle Pack, which, as most of you guys know, is one of the worst battle packs just because it has the 2 Jedi in it. It had amazing potential, as it could have included 3 Clone Troopers and then a pilot, but LEGO for some reason made a strange decision to throw in the Jedi, and it kind of just ruined the battle pack. It was almost like with this spring wave, LEGO just saved all of their effort for these solo sets, and then someone somewhere decided that there needed to be 2 extra sets included in this wave, so they just threw in 2 sets that really didn't get as much attention to detail as the solo sets did, so therefore we got 2 sets that really had wasted potential. The battle pack definitely more than Yoda's Hut, although they were both still just released at a pretty awkward time. Although if you exclude those 2 sets, this wave was definitely pretty good, and then LEGO ended it with a bang with the UCS Y-Wing that came out on May 4th. The August wave came around, which was going to be the last wave of the year, and LEGO hit us with an amazing 1-2 punch with the new X-Wing and a new Imperial landing craft, which were both incredible ships and definitely the best versions of those ships that LEGO has made to date. We also got a new Sandcrawler, which I don't really think was as good as the X-Wing and the landing craft, mainly due to the fact that I think it just looks a little awkward. It seems like the proportions are a little bit off, and LEGO had also made the UCS Sandcrawler just 4 years earlier in 2014, which was more expensive but definitely had a better value value. And it seemed like they were finally starting to drift away from the sequel sets, and they were starting to put their effort into sets that weren't just from Solo. Although in a way, this kind of came with a cost and the roles sort of reversed. See, LEGO released 3 more Solo sets in this wave, with one of them being really good and the other 2 being, well, let's just say really bad compared to the ones that were released earlier in the year in April. And then we got a new Hoth medical chamber and a new Anakin Jedi Starfighter, which were 2 sets that needed to be remade, although LEGO again just released them at a pretty awkward time. Instead of them actually being good remakes, LEGO kind of just seemed to put half effort into them and make them underwhelming and just make them as filler sets to accommodate the bigger sets from the wave. And then the last set I want to talk about that was released from this wave is the only sequel set that came out in the second half of 2018, which was Snoke's Throne Room. This set definitely had the most potential out of any sequel set releasing this year, as everyone at the time had really wanted LEGO to make the Praetorian Guards, and they gave us the Praetorian Guards, although they made the build really underwhelming and they overpriced the set like crazy, with it having 492 pieces for $70 US. So again, they just kind of ruined another sequel set, which just led to it being forgotten about. And then to close off the year, in October, LEGO released the Master Builder series Cloud City and the buildable Porg. The Cloud City was definitely a very unique set with great figures, and the Porg is great as a LEGO set, but I really just don't like the Porgs in The Last Jedi, so this set is just not really for me. Overall, it really seemed like the problem with this year was just that LEGO was just picking and choosing which sets they decided to put the most effort into, and this just led to a very messy year with lots and lots of sets, but only a small handful of them actually being notable and still lasting today. And when I say a small handful, I mean a small handful. The most notable ones that people still mainly talk about today are the TIE Fighter from Solo, the UCS Y-Wing, the X-Wing, and then obviously the Master Builder series Cloud City. Obviously there were a few others, although those ones aren't as talked about today as much as the other ones I just listed. So 70 sets were released this year, and 4 of them are notable. Now you have to take into consideration there were a lot of sets I didn't really cover in this video, as there were just dozens and dozens of poly bags and buildable figures released this year, although those aren't really true LEGO sets with they build and figures, but they did contribute to the problem of LEGO not really dispersing their effort how they should have. And also, like I said at the beginning of the video, The Last Jedi also didn't have a very good impact on this year at all, as it really did just set a lot of these sets up for failure, and there's definitely the chance that LEGO designed these sets off of concept images that they saw before the movies were released, as that is what they do with the initial wave that releases before the new Star Wars movies come out, although The Last Jedi sets released in 2018 were released after the movie came out, so I'm not really sure if they were designed off of concept images or not, although the idea of these sequel movies causing harm to LEGO Star Wars is a conversation for another video.